Okay, great. Want to just remind everybody to select English if you speak English or select French if you speak French. And today we're really lucky to have Tanya Clarke join us today, representing Kawandama Hills Farm in Malawi. And let me see. And so we're going to start just by sharing a few pictures and hearing a little bit about your business, Tanya. So today, what kind of business models will you be maybe representing today?
Great. Yeah, so I'll be just telling a little bit of background about Kawandama Hills Plantation, which is my essential oil and sustainable charcoal plantation in the north of Malawi. Yeah, so I look forward just to sharing some experiences with you all.
That sounds great. So I guess today, what we just want to start off by maybe getting a little excited about some of the pictures and some of the business models. So let's go through some of the pictures on Facebook. For instance, what are we looking at right here?
Yeah, so we are a 7,500 hectare essential oil plantation. We predominantly produce lemon eucalyptus oil for the natural insect repellent industry. We're linked to a UK company that does that. And we are also about to launch our natural insect repellents for Africa as well, producing a product that is, at the right price point so that we can really access the billion or so people in Africa where we do need this type of product. So here you see the nursery operations. This is actually a little bit of an older photo, but we produce around a million seedlings a year of our core species, Corymbia citrodora, and we produce our own seed and our own seedlings every year. We start our nursery operations in around August or September, and we're planting out by January into the field with the heavy rains. So here you can just see some of our lovely seedlings growing up. There are much more high-tech models. You look at Sapi and Mondi in South Africa and a couple of other much larger plantations. They're very mechanized, very, very sexy. But we are, we don't have mainline electricity. We are doing things in quite a traditional way, but they do work, and here you've just got the background of the distillation plant in the background, which is where we'll take our leaves to make essential oils. Yeah.
Wow, that's really awesome just to see that. Let's see what a few more pictures we have here. This, I think, is another interesting picture that shows a different business model you have.
Yeah, so the timber of the trees that we plant after we take the leaves, after a few years we basically coppice the tree and then it regenerates back. So the wood from the trunk is what we use to make our sustainable charcoal. Here you can see one of the bee half orange kilns that we use. We settled on, again, a fairly rudimentary sort of cheap and cheerful technology at this stage to produce our charcoal, and we've got around 40 or 42 of these at the moment. So yeah, wow. You can see a little bit of pictures there of our kilns.
That's quite amazing. And just to hear that, some people might ask later, or I might just ask right now, or people who are interested in getting into sustainable charcoal, how did you guys decide to get into sustainable charcoal production?
So we, in around 2011, we sort of just observed after our first harvests of leaves that we were going to have quite a lot of wood left over, and it just seemed a waste to let it rot in the field. Mm-hmm. At the time, the Malawian government didn't really have a very clear policy on charcoal. Its use was widespread. Obviously, culling of the forest was widespread already, but no one was really talking about it. So we started lobbying around that time. We went through the forestry department, which was our kind of mother ministry. And we kind of explained to them, listen, these are trees that we've planted ourselves, a very particular species that's being used, so not indigenous per se. naturalized, but not indigenous. And, you know, we've got all this wood that we would really like to convert into charcoal for sale to the local population. It took us a few years of lobbying, basically, and we finally achieved the first sustainable charcoal license in October 2015. And
Wow.
yeah, so that paved the way for, you know, other producers as well who could show sustainable production of timber to also enter into sustainable charcoal production. And I mean, at full capacity, you know, Kawandama Hills will only produce around 2,000 tons of charcoal. Malawi needs 50,000 tons of charcoal a year. So we really are a drop in the ocean. But the great thing about our business model is that we have a cash crop in the leaves and the oil, and we also have obviously this byproduct, which, you know, is turning out to actually be on par with the main product, really. And it's a volumes game. It's a volumes game. You have to produce enough wood, plant enough trees. It's really simple. Like, people kind of want to take shortcuts in forestry, but you just can't, you know, you can't. You need the biomass.
Yeah, I guess,
So,
yeah, if you're taking shortcuts, you're just cutting down native forests. So if you want to
yeah.
create that, so I think maybe something that I can distill from that for the entrepreneurs here. And I just want to encourage everybody as well, as we're going through. This is going to be more of a conversational get to know you about the business model. So we do welcome questions that are coming in, perhaps via the chat box at first. I'm just checking to see if there's any questions. No, we just have some hellos from people. But we can take some questions. And I just want to tell you also, Tanya, to let you know, we have our cohort of entrepreneurs from the Land Accelerator. And on Thursdays, we offer optional sessions where they can get to know other business models from around Africa. And the reason is, well, people are just interested in knowing about other business models. But just as you mentioned, sometimes it's like, oh, there's this other thing that I can do, this other thing that I can do. You know, you might feel yourself having leftover biomass and thinking, how do I even get started in this charcoal business? Or is the charcoal business perhaps right for me or not? So anyway, it's just about the exchange of ideas. At this point, I'd like to invite Victor, who's our WI staff member, program coordinator with the Land Accelerator, to go forward with the comment.
Thank you so much, Amanda. And thank you so much, Tanya, as well. Maybe mine is just a question and not a comment. Happy to hear your models, but I want to come, especially in the part of charcoal production. We all know that charcoal production affects, the global warming through production of, greenhouse gases and such as CO2 and methane. So when you talk about sustainable or production of charcoal, or sustainable charcoal, what exactly do you mean? Because I thought sustainable charcoal maybe will be things such as briquettes, etc. But for you, now that you're using wood, what exactly is sustainable production of charcoal? Thank you.
So, so basically, we're kind of raising the seedlings from scratch. We're planting them out from, and tending them for, for years and years. When we coppice them for charcoal, they regenerate. So essentially what we mean is we are not taking something from Mother Nature that cannot regenerate, number one, and also we're not taking something from Mother Nature that we did not put in, right? So, for us, if we're going to cut, if we're going to sacrifice a tree for anything, then we would, we would need to replant it, but we don't do that. We obviously plant everything ourselves. From scratch. We also plant hardwoods. We plant pine to feed our boilers, because the fuel security for the oil production to make the steam for the distillation process is also a factor that we have to consider. So currently, actually, our biggest thing at the moment is becoming fuel secure in that sense. But yeah, we're now producing all of our own seeds. So, we are literally raising about 1 million seedlings a year for our own plantation, also our cooperative farmer group, Rucheche Cooperative, and also our local school, our little school that's also an outgrower for us.
Okay, thanks, Tanya. And I really understand that the fact that you actually replant what exactly that you cut down, which is very good, which is more good than bad. But then again, the actual burning of charcoal, I think that is where I have the problem. But then again, I'll then say that maybe the good outweighs the bad, and so then there's a kind of equilibrium or even better positivity than negativity. Otherwise, thank you.
So, well, I actually went to China a number of years ago to look at charcoal production units, like, sexy ones, metal ones. And the issue that I saw, firstly, when we went to see the suppliers, we said we would like to see them in action. I don't just want to come and see a pretty equipment. I want to see them in action. None of them were in action when we arrived, even though they had promised us that they would be. Secondly, from experience now, you through the charcoal, if you can kind of basically condense those kind of like gases basically that's emitted, if you can condense them back into liquids, you can produce what we call a wood vinegar and tar, essentially. Those are actually quite useful compounds for like pole treatments, for all kinds of, sort of other uses. But they are very hard to manage. So when the tar comes out of the system, it can block pipes because it cools quite quickly. So it's only when it's heated at high temperatures, it can move through the pipes basically. So there are some, like, technology basically needs to kind of catch up. Maybe something's already been done. Like I said, that was a few years ago. I'm sure that there are kilns that must be a lot more efficient. Again, they'll cost a lot of money. So the entrepreneur or the business has to have enough money to buy those. We would definitely be interested in buying a technology that works where we're emitting less gases and we're actually converting that back into the wood vinegars and tars as well. So we're making a byproduct from the byproduct, which is awesome. But again, it's just the technology needs to be out there. So, if you guys, for example, know of any technology out there for all of us, then I'm sure it would be fantastic to use that. For now, we were trying to come up with a relatively cheap and cheerful solution to produce charcoal because otherwise the price point is also quite high. So if you're charging very high prices for charcoal, people will also struggle. People don't want to really pay a lot of money for their wood or their charcoal. So if your technology and your processes are very high, there's a high cost of production, then your charcoal obviously is going to have to be a higher price. So kind of everything has to kind of, balance.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, back to you, Amanda.
Oh yeah. Oh, I thought I was on mute and I wasn't. Along those lines, I don't know particularly if there's anything like it, because what I've heard, I'm not a scientist and I wish I took a whole class on this, but biochar is completely different than charcoal. Am I correct? Because people are telling me biochar, you can create it and it condenses all the carbon like you're saying, but I think that's different than charcoal.
Yeah, so our charcoal would have to be activated in order to make activated charcoal. So there's various ways of doing that. I'm not an expert. I'm sure that there are other people on this group who are much more knowledgeable than me. But we actually are starting to look into that because we get quite a lot of charcoal dust as like a byproduct. So we wanted to ideally activate that so we can use that in the plants for my other company. So yeah, it's a long-term requirement. It's a long-term project, but most things are like, where is there ever any quick money or quick projects or like, I just think that we're so used to things happening so quickly, so immediately, that actually we're kind of maybe just not realizing or forgetting that you can't rush nature. So rectifying the soils, rectifying pH of soils, using products like biochar, absolutely, I think is a fantastic route. It will just take a little bit of time, I think, for that to actually to see the benefits of that. But I use that already in my other company.
Yeah. There is a really cool company that we have based in Kenya. So Samuel, if you know them more, or even Victor, Safi Organics, and they are I believe, using some biochar technology, but they take waste from their farmer network and create this biochar-based enzymes. And actually, the funny thing is, this company, the technology actually started in India with another of the land accelerator companies. So I don't know the science because, again, I'm business, not science. I try hard to learn, but it sounds like something that would be interesting for people to learn about. I'm going to open it just for a second if Samuel has anything, if he knows anything more about the Safi organic model.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks so much, Amanda. You have actually shared what I wanted to share about the Safi organic model. But yeah, beside that, we are seeing quite a lot of companies here coming in to do biochar from organic waste. I know of a company that is setting up here, I think from Italy, and is working with the likes of Jane Maigwa to actually use the macadamia waste to actually do biochar in large scale. Yeah, so it was exciting to hear Tanya talk about that and how that can actually complement the other work that she's actually doing. I had a question. I was almost raising my hand. Maybe you can go back to the picture that we had seen, Amanda. And my question to Tanya is about, this type of kiln. How effective is it in terms of the conversion rate? I'd be curious about that, because I remember some time back we did actually host a company that is dealing with gum arabic, but they are also doing charcoal from prosopis, which is an invasive species that compete with the Senegal acacia tree, from which they actually get the gum. And so they have this kiln that the conversion rate is very fast, plus also a lot of the material of the biomass get to be produced to be charcoal and very less waste. So I'm just curious, how effective is this kiln for you? Because I want to believe it's a big consideration, especially if somebody wants to venture into this business.
Tanya, you're on mute. Sorry.
Sorry, was that for me or for?
No, yes, for you. Sorry, for you.
I'm so sorry. My kid actually just came in to annoy me. I've sorted out the situation.
Sorry.
Can you just repeat the question again? Sorry.
I just wanted to understand the effectiveness of this kiln, because the last time we did host an entrepreneur who is dealing with gum arabic, they are at the same time doing charcoal from prosopis, and they did mention of this technology.
Is it?
Sorry. Tanya, you can hear me? Yeah, not sure whether Tanya can hear us. Yeah, she seemed to have dropped.
Oh, I think the call has dropped. But maybe you could tell us a little bit about that and she'll come back on. So talking about, I believe the company is Acacia EPZ in Kenya, and they're using it. They got into charcoal production just this year. And so what was the question going to be?
Yes, the question was, how effective is this kiln in terms of producing charcoal? How fast? Plus also, what is the conversion rate? Because I remember some did talk about conversion rate being 90% for their technology. So most of the biomass is actually converted into charcoal. But we do realize for majority of this method, charcoal production method, and especially where you use a mold, you get to have 50% conversion. So I'll be curious to hear for this one that we are seeing, what is the conversion rate?
That's really interesting. So when you use a mold, the mold actually makes the conversion rate go down. I thought the
Yes.
mold was just for shaping it afterwards. No?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Oh, I thought the mold was for shaping the material. No?
No, it's, I want to believe is one of the ways you can actually produce
Mhm.
the charcoal. And then we have this, I think I've seen this somewhere in Kenya, in one of the companies that we have financed. But Sami has a different one. That is a technology that they have actually been able to customize together with the Kenya Forest Service, which is a government organization here. And you realize they have very less waste.
Oh, so Tanya, we see you've jumped back on. We started to talk about the conversion rate of the biomass to charcoal. And we're curious about yours because one of our companies that we've been working with named Acacia EPZ, they got into charcoal making this year. Yeah. Mhm. And so maybe let's hear what some of your statistics are and what you guys have found. I know we're getting technical here, but I think that this was one of the questions was what are the technicalities of going into this charcoal business? And even perhaps you might be interested in being networked with Sam, who's in Kenya.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we were getting around, I think it's 28%, 25 to 28% yield from wood to charcoal yield. But it's very much about the density of the Citriodora wood. So we would have to let the tree be around maybe 4 years old, basically. Yeah,
If you wanted a higher conversion
necessarily
rate,
dense enough. And it is an art, a bit like essential oil distillation is a bit of an art. You know, you have to kind of play around a little bit with the parameters. We were trying to come up with fairly
Tanya's voice cut out. She's still there. I oh, nope, she's still there. Okay. Tanya, we can't hear you, but we see you are still present on the call. I think her internet's, oh, nope, there she put, okay, so Tanya, now you're on mute.
Hi.
Oh, hey, we can hear you now. Perfect.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I think I'm just in the middle of deepest, darkest Italy, so I am struggling. Can you just maybe just give me 1 minute?
Oh, yeah, sure, definitely.
Thank you. Sorry.
While she's gone, I'm going to take a look at some of the other pictures here that we have on her screen. Let's take a look. Oh, let's see. They actually have a video. Let's at least look at it. Let's see. Oops. Can you hear it, Samuel? Okay.
Now we can hear you.
But can't see it, right?
Yes.
We've got a
Yeah, I see Tanya is back.
Hi. Sorry.
All right.
I'm in Europe and there's internet issues. Yeah, so would you like me to continue on that same question?
Well, yeah. We were talking about having the 25 to 28% yield. And I think you're saying if you wanted a higher yield, one of the things you could do is let the wood age for 4 years. Was that what you were saying?
So in the case of lump charcoal, for sure, we have to let the wood densify essentially. And that's just something that is very dependent on the type of biomass that you're using, the type of tree that you're using. With briquettes, like briquettes make an excellent product because they're already, dense basically. But when we did trials on briquettes, uncarbonized briquettes in our kilns, the product was excellent, really amazing, but the actual log itself was quite fragile. So it was not going to be transported easily. So carbonizing an uncarbonized briquette, which I'm sure for most of you out there, you'll be like, yeah, of course, is quite difficult, I think. It makes a really good product, but I'm not quite sure whether at least we cracked it. And then yeah, just also how wet the wood is as well. In the case of making this lump charcoal, how wet the wood is, and we do ideally have to let the wood I'm back.
You're back. Okay, perfect.
I'll turn off my video. Yeah, so we have to also let the wood dry out for some time. And if we are using wet wood, then the actual process itself takes a bit longer because we have to allow the water to evaporate. So you can see there's some nice charcoal bits. Are you hearing me okay?
Yep, we're hearing you. Yep, definitely.
Fantastic. Yep, so we have to grade the charcoal as well. And we pretty much use everything in some way or another. We either use it for actual product for sale, or we use it back on the trees, or we use it to make sort of small amounts of activated charcoal, or we sell, actually. We even sell some of the charcoal dust to other producers for them to make the pillow-shaped briquettes. So yeah, like it's quite a we planted around 6 million of our trees to date. So we do we have quite an intensive tree planting program, and we're still planting for the next probably 3 years or so. But the nice thing about our tree species is it's producing whether leaves or charcoal or wood for a good sort of 20 years. We haven't had to replant anything up until now. There's some of the distillation going on. There's some of the trees, some of our seed tree stands, that particular one. And so I think charcoal making is an art, and you really just have to kind of understand what your biomass, what your product is, and work with that, and just make sure that you're really truly understanding, what you're making and selling. As I say, I think there are probably more fuel efficient kilns out there than the Half Orange. But up until now, when we weigh up the quality of the charcoal and the yields that we're getting and the availability of the materials to make the kilns, it's just much easier for us to go down this route. But if there is something out there, a technology out there, which, that's making more and more, more of the byproducts valuable, then that would definitely be of interest.
That sounds really awesome. I always am a sucker for maps, so I got to this photo right here. Is this a photo? Could you tell us what this map is a photo of, if anything, related to your business?
Yeah. So this is actually even an old. This is a map from I think 2 years ago. It's actually looking a lot fuller now. So our plantation, 7,500 hectares. We've got large pockets of indigenous forest that we conserve and protect, and we plant our core species in and around those forests. So we have around 2,500 hectares in the ground at the moment, and we will more than likely settle on 2,800 hectares. And then we'll kind of continue optimizing the plantations. So we've got pines, we've got Citradora, we've got Maculata, Variegata, Dives, Radiata. Some of them are timber producing species, and some of them are essential oil producing species. And yeah, basically that's our plantation. It's pretty vast.
So yeah, this is your plantation within the black boundary here. And then if you could share, what's the green versus the orange versus the yellow?
Those are just the different species that we've planted. Yeah, so I think even the green includes some of the other eucalyptus species. The yellow, I think, would probably be pine. And I think the red is Mulanje cedar. We also engage in some conservation of some of the native tree species in Malawi, and we have really good relationships with FRIM and the Forestry Department and the Mount Mulanje Trust. So we're very passionate about seeing if we can kind of plant seed stands to preserve trees that are becoming extinct, such as Mulanje cedar.
Wow. Oh, wow. So Mulanje cedar is an indigenous tree that's in danger of becoming extinct. And so that's what some of these areas actually are. The orange, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, that's quite a large area there. That's really amazing. And
we've planted more since then. Yeah.
So this has been even filled in. This is an older map. Yeah, I just keep going further and further down on the Facebook photos.
No, that's all good. Yeah, no, it's actually quite nice to see. I love maps as well. And especially when you start a greenfield forestry business, it's so daunting. A lot of people just basically say that you're going to fail. But then, when you kind of see the bits of land slowly filling in, and it's pretty awesome. Yeah. So
maybe you could talk about the land that you did have, or you do have your concession on. Maybe this is a picture of it right now. What was it like before you got your concession, and how did you actually get the concession? Now this will be different for everybody. Not everybody's working with concessions. Some people are working with smallholder farmers who have rights to their lands. But maybe just about your story in Malawi, and what the story of this parcel of land that we just saw, it's a huge parcel that we just saw the map of. What's the history?
Yes, so Vipia Plantation is a man-made plantation. It's around 55,000 hectares. It was planted by the British back in the day. And then, at the democracy, it was taken over by the government, who basically kind of looked after and monitored it until it was ready for harvesting. And it was originally planted for pine, for paper, and then I think that project was abandoned, and they're now they basically harvested it for timber. So our portion of land was adjacent to that 55,000 hectares, and some of it forms part of that, but it was never planted because it wasn't particularly fertile, I think, for that particular pine. And also accessibility was more difficult. And basically the plantation looks a lot like this that you see in the picture. It's you can see a lot of this grassland with pockets of indigenous forest there. You can see at the top of the hill, right at the top, that's the stand of the Citradora trees. So we've kind of speckled in our compartments amongst the indigenous forest. And we made a commitment to the Forestry Department as well as to ourselves that we would conserve and protect that indigenous forest, and not cut it down and replant it with Citradora. So we wanted, we wanted to do that. We definitely struggled with yields. I think if you're tree planting, you need to understand your soils, you need to understand your land. we definitely struggled a lot, but luckily once the Citrudora roots took hold and went downwards, as most sort of Corymbias and Citradoras do, then they become very, very strong trees. So yeah, it takes a while, but we eventually have got there. And I think the whole of the plantation, the Vipia, has kind of been allocated. We actually operate under a forestry plantation agreement, and we also work closely with the chiefs and the communities surrounding us, but we are quite remote. So we have sort of, that land was never ever populated. There were no villages there.
Wow.
We didn't have to relocate anybody. It belonged to the forestry department, so we only had to negotiate with the government. And the chiefs around us, around 6 chiefs, we have excellent relationships with, and it's a testament to my team, who have done a fantastic job, at involving them and discussing with them, and we have regular engagements. We were having fire problems, and we could call the chiefs to come, come and have meetings with us, and they're so supportive of us. So I think we pride ourselves on being a plantation that works very closely with our neighboring communities and chiefs, and we absolutely respect the structures that are in place as well. So that's very important when you're operating a forestry plantation kind of business. Obviously, if you're making briquettes from sort of agricultural waste, my only issue is, how do we find the balance between putting more back into the soil rather than taking it out or for energy use, because we have noticed a lot of issues around soil stability, soil structure, soil health. How are we kind of using some of the agricultural waste or other products that that can basically go back into the soil. We've done sun hemp before as well, where we've basically cultivated that as a fodder type crop to feed the soil, to try and bring back some structure. So I mean, we were very lucky, but also, the land ultimately belongs to the government. All of the trees and the structures on it belong to us. It's a strong partnership between us as a private sector player and the government. It's renewable and irrevocable, unless we commit a major issue. And I think that's what governments and the forestry departments have to attract: investors who actually do have a genuine interest in making things better, not just taking and taking.
Well, that's so interesting. Let me see if I can go back to some of those questions that I might have sent you earlier today. I should have been, but I was listening to it. I think something that I caught from what you said right there that really was amazing to me is that this parcel of land is so isolated and basically was unpopulated forever. That's very, very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, we were very lucky in that sense, because relocating people is never an easy or pleasant experience. And yeah, we were very lucky that we didn't have that issue.
Well, yeah, you didn't even have to consider that. So didn't even have to think about that.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, what is your newest product that you have right now? I think I was reading some that you're developing a few products that might be newer or.
Yeah. Well, I'm not actually sure if we have some yet up on Facebook. If not, I need to get on it. But we've so we produced this lemon eucalyptus oil for our natural insect repellent business back in Europe, in the UK. However, when we started, I was just like, we need to be making a product for Africa. This is where we have malaria, we've got dengue, yellow fever, like all kinds of horrible, tropical diseases. My father is a doctor of tropical medicine, and that's actually how we started Kawandama. It was to produce, the oil, like this oil that will eventually go into products that help with tropical diseases. And so, yeah, just there, we launched the virus safe sanitizers. There we go. So we've got the sanitizers, and now we've just launched our repellent for Africa, natural insect repellent for Africa. That's Miss Malawi there, just holding holding our repellent at the big tourism expo. And our lemon eucalyptus oil gets converted into a active ingredient called p-methanediol, PMD. Our trade name for it, our UK company's trade name for it is Citradiol, and that's a very effective anti-bacterial, antiviral, and mosquito and repellent, insect repellent. So we made sanitizers using it during COVID. It became a very popular product in Malawi throughout COVID. It's also got a lovely smell, so people really enjoyed using it. And we've just launched now also our insect repellent. So it will be coming out regionally very soon. And, you know, any contacts or any help to try and get it distributed more widely would be amazing. And we produce all of the oil, the raw oil, for that in Africa. And it's a completely natural product. It's not chemical. Unlike kind of, you know, the peaceful sleeps and the tabards, very effective, very cheap, but it's a chemical. So people want natural alternatives, and so that's what we do. Yeah.
Yes, when I went traveling, I was to India last year, and one of our coworkers actually got dengue, and she couldn't come to our event. So I was very concerned.
Yeah.
Of course, you know, I'm like, oh wow, this is real. Like, of course it is. But I couldn't find anything that didn't have chemicals, so I didn't use any repellent, and just kind of tried to stay inside and hope for the best. But using something that smells good, tastes good, well, not tastes good, you could eat it probably, but don't, but smells good, it's made in Africa, and it sounds like, so what will be the difference between the sanitizer and the mosquito repellent? Is it the amount of oils, the concentration?
Exactly. So it's the amount of active ingredient, and also we have more kind of nourishing elements for the skin for the hand sanitizer. But the surface one, you know, is fantastic. I mean, when I look at the supermarkets, and they've got sort of, you know, Mr. Muscle surface cleaner and all of these imported products, you know, I kind of think, well, you know, our products can compete with that, and, you know, should really come in cheaper. We could be even adding value to those products on the continent. So, you know, even contract manufacturing in Kenya, for example, for the East African market, you know, we don't need to manufacture everything in Malawi or South Africa. We can even, you know, send product over there to Kenya, where we contract manufacturing there. And then we're giving, you know, Kenyan or Ugandan or whoever businesses that opportunity to contract manufacture or distribute. And I think that's what we've got to come to as a region, as a continent. There's over 1 billion people just in Africa. You know, how can we support each other to get our locally made products out there to the region and break that kind of stronghold that these corporates have? Yeah, I feel quite passionately about that, obviously, as a regional producer of products. And I buy absolutely local 95% of the time. And yeah, so anyway, I mean, you know, running a plantation of that size is definitely not easy, but and a greenfield forestry investment is not easy. But tree planting is not really necessarily that sexy, but if you can come up with a model that works, it is a good business. And you know, I think a lot of the support and the help that we're getting from institutions, you know, like WRI and others, you know, like it's helpful, because tree planting is not just about planting the tree. You know, you need to tend to it, and you need to make sure that you're getting as much value from it as you can.
Yes, I definitely hear you. And I think everybody else who's on the call, correct me if I'm wrong, if you would feel the same way, that we need to come together and get our locally made products out there and stop the stronghold that the imports have on us. Not only that they're just imports, but they're actually inferior when you look at the outcomes. You look at the health outcomes, you look at the costs, financial costs and environmental costs. The products that are being created by the people on this call with us are going to be they're actually better products. And back to you, Victor.
Okay, thank you so much, Amanda. My question to Tanya will be just dealing with SMEs or entrepreneurs from Kenya and seeing how they do in terms of forestry and agroforestry. Maybe my question to you will be for the trees that you plant. I heard you talk about the fact that you've planted around 6 million trees to date. So maybe my question is, especially for the trees that you get your products from, how long do they take to mature, so that such that you can be able now to start, making returns out of them? Maybe that would be a very good or interesting fact for us to know. Thank you.
Yeah, so we can harvest after 12 months, but obviously the yields are quite low. And we need to kind of manage and shape the tree so that it's producing as much leaf biomass as possible. So there's lots of different types of models that you could do, in order to maximize those kinds of yields, because it depends as well. If you want the oil and the charcoal, you have to treat the tree differently. Like it's almost like a plant. It's like almost like horticulture, because you're having to tip the tree and you're having to manage it such that it's branching and then it's producing more leaves. But then if you want charcoal, you have to allow the actual tree to densify its main stem as well. So yeah, but we can start reaping after around 12 months, but we're only really getting kind of optimum yields after 3 years. But we're scaling something at 12 months.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Of a newly planted tree, whereas once you coppice, the tree is not necessarily newly planted. It's coppicing multiple times. Yeah.
Okay.
Which of course is a really efficient way to take advantage of the same seedling or the same tree. I wanted to pass the mic to Samuel. He might have had a question or comment, and then Samuel, I'll let you moderate the next couple of questions that we have from the audience. So I want to thank Rockin and Fidel also for raising your hands. You'll be up next.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks so much, Amanda. Mine was a quick one, and it's in terms of the branding. When I looked at the packaging, I did see the name sustainable. I want to believe sustainably produced, perhaps on the packaging for the charcoal. And I'm just wondering whether that has an impact in terms of the volume that you're able to trade, or even in terms of the pricing. Do customers pay the premium? Yeah.
No, we do have, we do have sustainable on both packets. The 15 kilo ones, the bigger ones, they do have sustainable in big letters. Here we kind of, when we did the branding for the 5 kilo bags, we kind of wanted to have a bit more of like a tagline, but the sustainable and legal is still there on the front of it. So yeah, we definitely try and we try as much as possible to promote the fact, what is sustainable. But in Malawi, for instance, there's no one word for sustainable in Chichewa. I think it's kind of like a sentence. So I think, but I'm sure now with such an emphasis on sustainability generally in the world, I'm sure that, a local vernacular word would come up for that. I don't know, what the situation is in Kenya or anything, but yeah, kind of trying to also come up with the vernacular expression for sustainability, I think would also be important.
Yeah, thanks, Tanya. And does that have an impact in terms of the pricing? So do you price your charcoal at a premium, or in terms of the volume? Do people buy because it's written sustainable? Sorry, Tanya, we must have lost you.
Tanya still shows that she's on here, but yeah, we've been having the connections. I think you're right. We did lose her. I was wondering if you were asking about costs. I just happened to come across this.
Hi, sorry, I'm back. Were you asking about the pricing, Samuel?
Yes, and whether that has an impact. Because I know, and especially where you are right now in Europe, if something is actually written sustainably produced, many people may tend to actually go for it. I don't know whether that's the same case in Africa, where if I brand my charcoal as sustainably produced, many people would actually buy that rather than buying the normal charcoal in the market. Okay, I don't know. We seem to be losing her unless it's on my end.
Hi, sorry, I'm back.
Yes, yes, we can
I'm
hear you.
sorry.
Then.
Yeah, sorry. I think the last question you asked was about whether the price point of the charcoal having sustainability in it.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we've always said that, you know, we have to have a proper price point for our charcoal, and if it doesn't make business sense, then we're just not going to do it, because there's no point in relying on grants to sustain a business line, I think, or you know, or just not being kind of real about the fact that you have the cost of the tree in the cost of our charcoal, you know, and then also transporting it down to market. So, you know, we need to be realistic about that. And people generally, I think, generally they're quite used to not paying very much for fuel. Or at least maybe less than what it's actually worth. I mean, I talked to, say, industry players wanting to buy our charcoal, large volumes of charcoal, but you know, they really want it at like such a low price that it just doesn't make sense. You know, you're like, where are you getting your charcoal from then? If you want it at this price, where are you getting your charcoal from? Because I don't know how any sustainable business could actually provide it at that price. So yeah, I don't know. It's we try and be very clear in our pricing. It's not a huge profit margins for us, but because it's a byproduct, we can make it work, you know, because we've got like a revenue also coming in from the oil. And then now with the ViruSafe brand, it's exciting because that's actually now creating a value-added product for us. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Tanya. Fidel, I see your hand is up. Maybe you can go first briefly, and then we have Rokin and Tanya can answer both of them. Yeah, so Fidel.
Merci beaucoup pour la parole accordée. Oui, merci beaucoup. Moi, j'ai une question parce que je n'ai pas bien compris. Est-ce que les produits ici seront-ils utilisés pour lutter contre les insectes nuisibles dans les champs ou soit sont utilisables pour les produits déjà transformés?
In the farm. I want to know if it's used against insects in the farm, this product. Did you get my question?
Okay, everybody, I want to make sure you heard his question. If you were not having English, you could select English as your language from the interpretation option. I believe his question was simple. Can the insect repellent be used on farm animals or in the farm in general?
Are these products used for insects against plants or insects that can damage the products that are already existing? So I want to know where it is used.
Yeah, thanks, Fidel. Maybe we can get Rokin to ask the question because of time, and then Tanya can answer both of them. Rokin?
Yes, yes, hello. Do you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Okay, fine. I'm very, very, very happy. I'm impressed with the program which you are doing in Malawi, but I wanted to find out if you have a partner in the northern region, because what you have said is like you are talking of the southern region, or when we were together with some other guys in a long way to find out if you have any chance of reaching out to the northern region, like us here in the northern region. I don't see that product, on the market. But concerning to our afforestation programs, and part of the programs which we are doing is just to avoid them to cutting down trees carelessly. So I wanted maybe this product, if it can reach us, it's better that we can communicate, we can assist the local farmers to get hold of not cutting down trees unnecessarily. So I want to just get the insight of what you are doing in northern region. Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Fidel. Thank you, Rokin. Tanya?
Yeah. Let's try the video. Hopefully we can be lucky. Yeah, with the northern region, we do have a container outlet where we sell the charcoal. And I think you can find the exact location small, but we are very open to sales agents in the northern region, maybe Rumpi, Mazimba, Karonga, but like the transport cost often makes the product quite high in terms of pricing just because of the transport. Definitely that's one of Malawi's Achilles heel. It's a problem that we have in Malawi, the fact that we're dominated by road transport.
You seem to be losing you, Tanya. Maybe you can try to speak when the video is off.
Hi.
Hi, now we can hear you.
Tanya, you were saying that.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you again. You were saying about the transportation costs sometimes being prohibitive, so you might be able to be providing charcoal to the local market, maybe not transporting it very far, correct?
Hi, sorry.
Hello?
Hi, I'm back. Sorry.
Okay, so I think you were saying about about partnerships
hear
and
me okay?
transportation. Yeah, we can hear you. Do you mind if I'm talking about transportation and partnerships, expenses, transporting the charcoal? Yeah. So maybe then just the last question was, is this insect repellent, is it just for people? Is it for animals? Is there any pesticide element of it or ways that it could be used in the farm setting to help with pest controls? Well, not sure that the internet will be collaborating with us today for those final questions, but we do want to thank you for.
Hi there.
Oh, hello.
Hi.
Hey,
I know we're nearing the
hey.
end of the session, so I'm so sorry.
Yes, we're nearing. Exactly.
Yeah, but no, I mean, we definitely want to do more in the northern region, and basically just reach out if you feel like you could make a business opportunity up there. We can deliver bags to agents, etc. So the northern region we're very passionate about. It still has trees, so a lot of people are they're still harvesting sort of quite a lot of trees illegally up there. That's one of the maybe the major issues. But we are always willing to work with anybody who has a passion for this type of business, for sure. Just send an email and I'll put you in touch with my MD at Vipia.
Oh, perfect. That sounds really great. That people can reach out to you. Would it be fine if we put your email address on our online network? It's available to the entrepreneurs who are with us.
No problem at all.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
So if anybody's from Malawi and interested in those business opportunities, and also if anybody's interested in just talking about oil production or different technologies around charcoal production, I believe that would be open as well. So we'll put that on the Restore Forward network today.
No worries.
Samuel, would you like to close this by thanking Tanya and thanking everybody for joining us?
Yeah, I see Victor hand is up. I'm not sure whether he's a question. Yeah, Victor, maybe quickly, and then we can.
Thank you. Maybe my last one will be to Tanya. Tanya, now that you're doing some very good work, maybe do you have any kind of social impact, maybe in terms of the community around you, job creations, number of farmer engagement? Maybe can you just tell us about your social impact?
Yeah, social impact is very important to us. We've got 175 workers. We've got our Lucheche cooperative, who is, I think, now comprising of around 170 farmers. They plant Citradora and also help each other out with loans. We do a lot of like awareness around tree planting. So I mean that's a very important aspect for us, absolutely. And I think any business in the region should be considering that triple, quadruple bottom line,
Yeah, that's good work. That's good work, Tanya. That's very good work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tanya, for finding time to come and speak with us.
Thank you very much.
We do understand you're actually in Europe for something different, but you actually created time for us, and certainly this session has been very insightful. I'm sure the participants have been able to learn one or two things about different business models. So thank you so much.
Yeah,
and,
great.
Equally, thanks to Dominic Tembo from Malawi MCHF project, the private specialist, for coordinating with Tanya to just see that Tanya makes it here. So Dominic, I saw you around. So thank you so much. Pass our regards to your family and the rest of the team in Europe. Otherwise, let's call it. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Tanya. Let's call it a day here. We'll meet again next week on Thursday, when we'll be looking at insect farming, but also with some component on soil fertility. We are going to have a French speaker. So yeah, please join us then. Otherwise, thank you so much.
Guys, thanks so much for joining us. Thank you so much, Tanya. And Dominic, good to have you here as well.
All right.
Okay.
Bye, everybody. Insect farming next week. Insect farming. Hi.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Au revoir. Merci beaucoup pour cette exposition.
Bye.
Bye.